Well, good evening, everybody. Anybody who watches this later on down the road, this is what it feels like for the first minute or two. I'm here all by myself, talking to a screen in an empty room full of nobody. But if you stick around, the show typically gets better. 15 minutes in, people start showing up, we get a dialogue going. About the half hour mark, things really heat up. And then right at an hour, when I'm completely shot out and totally over it, 30, 35 people are in here. We're all hanging out, having a good time, and then I shut it down. But I figured that I would come get online and hang out with y'all on a Friday night. HD Aflam, how you doing, man? So, Danny, good to see you. Man, you're on morning and evening. This is pretty crazy. You know, when I'm on the way to the gym at like 7 in the morning Eastern time, I miss out on hanging out with everybody. So I'm super excited about getting on here for, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half today and just hanging out with everybody. So I can't read the Arabic part of your name, HD Aflam. I don't know what that means, but we're in Florida. Ryan, what's going on, man? You made it. I know. I'm usually on before everybody wakes up on the West Coast. So this is new, streaming from the house. Wow, we got 7 people. Is this what it feels like to do an evening stream? Usually this is what it takes, like 15, 20 minutes in. So I don't really have a script for this evening. I just wanted to kind of keep it open and do like a Q&A for everybody. Big Will, good to see you, man. And just chat with y'all. You know, I had a couple of the live streams out where we were talking about options for low quantity, high complexity work as a screen printer that has an automatic press. See, I have an automatic and I don't have a manual. So the flexibility that I had, I mean, even as recently as July, is just out the door. We lost the ability to do unique things where we could custom manufacture a platen. We lost the ability to do like short runs. Anything under 24 pieces is just not feasible. So I'm kind of curious to know what some of you other guys are doing out there to take care of like short runs of things. I'm professional. Is is that because I got my neighborhood print shop shirt on here and it's after business hours? I appreciate that. So yeah, let me know what you guys are doing for short run, highly complex stuff right now, because I have I have a solution that I don't know if it's a working solution, but I was made aware of a new garment decoration process that I thought was for amateurs, you know, and housewives. And I'm realizing that there may be something new coming onto the market for professionals to fulfill the low quantity, high complexity jobs that I would have put through on like a DTG machine. So I guess that's kind of what I would have done in the past was I would have run it on my DTG. You know, say a full color like 12 by 16 print that's photographic. But the maintenance, I mean, you guys already know from my other videos, the maintenance, the upkeep, the ink cost, everything about DTG just irked me and ground my gears. Hey, Dad, good to see you. So you're doing HTV. What kind of run sizes are you doing, Big Will, on HTV? I'm curious because you know I see these videos of people who are putting like 3, 4, 5 color jobs together on heat transfer vinyl. It's shocking, man. It's absolutely shocking. Oki data printer and white toner printer. So yes, I will say that looking at the white toner printers, that's kind of where I'm leaning. And I want to see though, because I'm pretty picky when it comes to the quality. We're working on the highest levels of quality is what the people we're working with expect. And if we turn out something that just splits and tears and gets jacked up, there's no way. If it washes out in 5 or 10 washes, or if it fades really bad and it doesn't hold up to the level of like screen printing or even at least DTG, then a white toner printer is just not for us. But if it's feasible, you know, like a two-stage process, then maybe. 1 to 4 order jobs. Anything over 25, I do 15-cent transfers. So you'll do like the FM Expressions 15-cent heat transfers then, and order those in like in 1 color or 2 colors, is what you're saying. And we did that for a couple of jobs. We've used FM Expressions like 15-cent transfer program. And back in the day, it was pretty nice. They just recently changed their pricing structure, so I don't know what it is now. But it used to be like a $15 setup plus 15-cent transfers. And if you wanted oversized transfers, you could do it for I think it was 20 cents. So I know they changed it and Stalls changed it. And somebody in our Discord was telling me that they're pulling in plastisol transfers from China that are just absolutely phenomenal quality, and they're getting them for cheaper than the full color transfers you can get on FM Expressions. So the quantities and the sizes that you can pull in from FM Expressions when you start doing 2-3 color or their Freedom transfer process, that gets a little hinky. Like if you only want 8 transfers or 16 transfers, you're going to be paying a lot of money for that stuff. 2 big jobs that I did, and it looked good. Yeah, setup fee, price per sheet, and then your shipping. Yeah, and for things like FM Expressions, if we're doing like, I don't know, say we have a 24-piece run where we would normally do it on FM Expressions, I'm going to have to charge double whatever their sheet fee is, and the vast majority of the time it's already sitting at like $8 plus the setup costs and stuff like that. So for me, I feel like FM Expressions hasn't really been a viable process. If you guys are here, make sure you press like, because that's how we're going to get more people in the stream. If you like this stream as we're going, it'll take you like 1/2 of a second, even if you're on the way out. When would you say is the best time of year to purchase and stock G500 heavy cotton or G640 soft shell shirts for shops who have a business model to stock inventory on hand? That is a good question. I would assume, I don't know. I couldn't even begin to tell you when the best time of year is. I would just get in touch with like my Alpha Broder rep or my Sanmar rep, probably Alpha Broder. They tend to work with me on price a little better, and then find out when they're having good sales. If this sale is lower than usual, if you're not already though, because I know nothing about how you stock your blanks, but if you're not already, definitely try to price negotiate. I'm ordering 1,000 or I'm ordering 1,500. You know what? Try to get them to cut the price down by 30 or 40 cents. I had an order of 700 to 1,000 437 M's. It's like the Jersey Spot Shield 50/50 polos, and it was a mix of those, long sleeve pocketed Gildans, short sleeve pocketed Gildans, and they're all in high vis. They're all like pocketed high vis shirts and polos, and just 1,000 pieces. Okay, went from $5.50 for a 437 or 439M, and they dropped it by almost $1.50 to $2 for these pieces, going with the Gildan pocketed and short sleeve and long sleeve. So I was able to cut my garment cost on this 1,000-piece order from several $1,000s. We're talking almost $5,000 in garment cost, down to the low 3,000s. And when you're talking about an order where you're charging maybe $9 or $10 or $11 for the finished product, and you're able to cut $2,000 off your base cost or $1,500 off your base cost, your profit margins go from, you know, like a 50% cost of goods or 45% cost of goods down to the 30% range, and that's really sweet. I mean, just switching one part from red to black is huge. So, I mean, I'm sure you're already doing that, but definitely if you're buying to stock in bulk, make sure you're having that secondary negotiation. And I would shop around too. Even if I only do one order a year with like SNS Activewear, TSC, you better believe if I have something that's like 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 pieces, something bigger, and those come along every now and again. If you've got something like that, send an email out to every single one of your outside reps, give them a call, shop around, because it might take you 20 minutes on the phone. But if you can get them to give you a customized quote, and then you pick the best one, and then I go back with the best quote. So say I shop SNS, Alpha Broder, Sanmar, TSC, all of them, every last one of them, and I send them for a quote, do an RFQ, and then Alpha Broder comes back 30 cents lower than everybody else. I'll ask them if they can come in another 5 or 10 cents underneath Alpha. If they do, I go back to Alpha, ask them to come in a penny or two cheaper, and you just go round and round until they finally tell you to get lost, and then you take the lowest price that's there. I mean, nobody in this industry is hurting more, I think, than the garment decorator, and that would be you and I as small to medium-sized garment decorators. And since we don't have the purchasing power of some of these huge shops, I don't think it's underhanded to get into a bidding war, and they'll never go cheaper than they're going to revenue positively. But I think that's something that y'all could do, especially when you get your first or second or third really big orders, if you're not already doing that. Because sometimes in the hype of saying, oh wow, this is my first $10,000 order or whatever it is, you forget that, man, if you pinch every little penny along the way, you can really stretch what that revenue does in terms of profit. So that's what I think about that. Yeah, I see the likes going up. There's 9 people in here. Press that like button before you go, even if you're not going to hang out for too long. Hit X on the live chat. Hit that like button. Come back to the chat. Love it. Thank you, Rye. Appreciate that. Let's see here. I think the 64,000 black is on sale right now, under $2. I did see that. So I was looking. The reason I knew about this was because Printful had, I guess they do a full color DTG front on Printful if you wanted to get fulfillment. Because I was shopping around for super low quantity solution for an order I had, and it was like $7.95 to get a 12 by 15-inch DTG print on a black Gildan 64,000. So $2 blank. It was, well, $7.98. So I'm spending $5 or $6 on the DTG print, which is barely over the cost of OEM ink, plus the garment. And then getting that shipped to me, I'm thinking, man, I could do that cheaper than going local and outsourcing DTG. I could do it way cheaper than sending to one of my contract printers. I think Atlas out of Miami, and not a lot of you guys are where I'm at, but Atlas out of Miami, they're one of the contract brokers that we've worked with. They do have a DTG division, but they have a minimum requirement for each invoice to be at least $50 with them. So if I'm spending, let me see, I'll go grab my booklet here. I want to get accurate pricing. So if I'm getting something from Atlas, here we go. This is the 2018 price book from Atlas. I'm looking at DTG. This is the older one of the two. This is all I got here. They want, for non-white garments, and they go by like 5.5 inches, or 5 inches by 5 inches, 1 to 5 units is $4. So I could get a left chest for $4 times 5, $20 for left chest. And then if I did a 14 by 15 on the back, that's another $8. So I'm looking at 40 plus 20, $60. So I guess if I was doing 5 pieces, left chest and back, I'd be at $60, which is over their minimum. But if I only needed one center front, 14 by 15, that's $8. Well, they're going to require me to pay $50 for that single piece. So if I'm trying to fulfill, as a screen printer, trying to fulfill one-off pieces, there's no chance of me going through a contract printer because they're not set up to do cheesy one-off stuff either. So the more I look, the more I'm thinking I'd like to fill in that low quantity gap. And somebody reached out to me the other day based on one of my videos, I guess because I'm kind of derisive of DTG, the industry in general, for most people. They reached out to me because they wanted me to take a look at one of their white toner laser printers. So that's going to be coming up in early January. I'll probably be flying, not probably, as long as I can schedule it around the birth of my firstborn son. I'll be able to fly up there, take a look at it, film on location, do some training, shake some hands, and then I'm going to unbox and review the brand new i800W iColor printer. So that's going to be happening in January. But man, I was hesitant at first when they asked me if I wanted to review their printer. I said, well, I'm gonna have to call you back because I see how things worked out for Reyes and Kenyon Ken, where they were kind of secretive about getting a sponsorship, their first endorsement deal or whatever. They weren't upfront about the fact that they received those printers for free, and I didn't want to find myself in the same situation where I feel like, or where I would feel like I couldn't be honest and open about how I feel about the process. So in my follow-up contact with them, I said, look, I understand where you're coming from. You've got a business to run. You don't want to sit here and put a very large investment out for someone who you think is going to appreciate your product, only to find out that I'm going to come and just hamstring it at this. So I get where you're coming from. At the same time, having been in business for myself, and having come through some really tough times over the years, I have a very real understanding of what it would mean to put out $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 on a piece of equipment with the hope that it's going to help me get out of a desperate situation, make a successful business, and really get somewhere, only to find out that I was taken for a ride. And I've seen that with predatory sales tactics in the DTG side of things. They promise that you're going to get a $1 million business out of nowhere. You don't have to have any of the knowledge or understanding or industry awareness that you do with screen printing to make it go. And it's not everybody, and it's not the entire industry, and there is a solid place for DTG, but the way that it's been marketed to an unqualified subset of buyers has really rubbed me the wrong way. And I just wanted to make sure that if I take a look at something like that, I'm not going to be putting myself in a tough situation where my reputation would be at risk. So that's going to be fun. I certainly hope I like the product, because if I don't like the product, then you guys won't see a video. I'll probably pull this live stream down. I just won't say anything about it at all, and I'll send it back, and everybody will be happy, and we'll go on our merry way. But that's really my stipulations. I have to like something, and then for me it's natural. If I'm on board with something, whether it is a new game or a new project or a new direction for the business, man, I am a crusader. I love just telling everybody. I'll call my friends, my family, everybody, and just chat with them until they're tired of talking to me about whatever I'm excited about. And if you talk to anybody that I know, they can attest to it. But if I don't like something, I can't fake it. It's not going to work. I can't fake enthusiasm or interest in something. I thought for years, this is 12 or 15 years ago, I thought that I was a terrible salesman. But come to find out, it was because I was trying to share a product that I didn't believe in. Whether it was a computer that they wanted me to push at a higher price bracket than I knew my customers could afford. I knew it wasn't a good fit for them. I wouldn't make sales because I didn't feel like it was ethical. If I'm not in line with my gut feeling, it's never going to happen. So I'm super interested to see how this product is. Big Will, let me scroll back in the chat real quick because I monologued for a little while there. How do I pitch myself to a local screen printer to have them hit my shirts so I don't have to do screen print transfers, but I don't want to pay as a customer? Do you know what I'm saying? Big Will, I think what you're trying to say is you want to find a contract screen printer, or at bare minimum a wholesale screen printer. So if you don't already have I see 11 people in here, 8 likes. Click that like button, guys. Rybeats said it in the chat how to do it. If you don't have a resale certificate, or the ability to collect tax, that's really a key feature. If you don't have a resale certificate or the ability to collect tax, you probably won't get a contract price list from a local vendor, from a local screen printer. The second side of that coin is, if depending on the market that you're in, local screen printers may or may not want to offer wholesale pricing to you. And wholesale is different than contract. Like for instance, my wholesale pricing is halfway in between what I would pay contract and what I would charge retail. So what I do is I just split the difference. So I say, okay, well, I can mark up if I'm completely busy and I have a contract customer or a wholesale customer that's coming to me because they're a reseller and maybe they're selling at their storefront or whatever. I cut down on my prices because they're high volume. And if at worst, the absolute worst case scenario is I can ship it out to one of these national screen printers at 70% or 65% of the cost of what I'm charging and still make money. So at no point in time am I going to come out of pocket if I have to outsource a job because I'm too busy. So you might run into that too if you're in a relatively small market and the local printers are using manuals or maybe just one entry-level auto. Their wholesale price list for you is going to be a lot different than your contract price to a true contract printer. And let me show you the prices here. This is not an exhaustive list, but you can go back and you can pause this video to take a look. This is contract screen printing prices, guys. This is what you can expect to see from a contract printer. So take a look at that. You can see that the piece price gets down to, what is it, 24 cents for a one color at 10,000 units. And then you're just adding just a little bit here and there as you go up in units. But take a look. They also have a laundry list of extra charges. If it is a specialty location, if it's a different size, if it's a little off center in any little way, they're going to charge you 25 cents, 25 cents, 25 cents, just time after time. You want it out of pocket? No problem, 25 cents. You might only be paying 25 cents for the print, but it's going to go up by another 25 cents. So contract printers get it. They have to run at like a high percentage of utilization, meaning their presses have to be on and running a good portion of the day in order for them to turn a profit. And if anything you're doing introduces a slowdown or an upset to their system and their level of efficiency, they're not going to eat it. So when you're bringing in customers and they're asking you to take on some type of complex job and they're wanting you to eat it and you feel that pressure, don't. Communicate with them, but don't feel the pressure to take on a job that's more complex for the same price. Especially, I did this for years. I'm kind of going off track here, but I did this for years. I'd get a customer, they would ask for a price, I would get the details, and it would be something like I want a 3-color font on 72 pieces or 48 pieces, whatever. And then they would come back and I'd give them a price, all right, 8 or 10 bucks, whatever it is. And then they'd come back, okay, well, I only need 24 pieces right now. And early on, I had a tough time going back to that customer and saying, okay, well, your updated price for 24 pieces right now is an additional $2, $2.50. I had a really tough time doing that. I felt like I quoted them $8 or $10, and even though they're making a change, I felt the pressure to eat the difference in price, even though the complexity might have gone up, or the circumstances changed, or the quantity went down. And lately, guys, I'm telling you, if somebody makes any change to it, okay, I'm gonna have to requote that. I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna have to requote it. Let me find out if it's gonna affect your price in any way, and I'll let you know what the changes. You're upfront, you're honest about it. The second they make a change, you let them know, hey, this will affect the final price. It just will. That's how it works. And by communicating with them, everybody's a lot happier. In my morning live stream that I did the other day, it was like a half an hour in, so very few of y'all will have heard it. But we were talking about communicating up front with your customers. So making sure you're having conversations with your customers and being willing to tell them no and explain things. So this is a twofold thing. In one of the Facebook groups the other day, I saw something where people were talking about the things that really grind their gears. Frustrations from green customers, and things like, well, I've got a designer who put together print ready artwork, and I don't want to pay your art fee, and then they deliver a JPEG with a oddball background, something that you can't separate out easily, but they don't want to pay your art fee because they got a graphics guy, and it just comes back as a JPEG embedded in an AI kind of thing. And people got really frustrated about customers that are doing that. And I said, well, when somebody comes in who is ignorant, who doesn't understand our industry, and there's a series of things, where they wanted, if you have an order of 24 pieces, our minimum order is 24 pieces. Okay, great. Well, I have 12 pieces of artwork A and 12 pieces of artwork B. I mean, you've got two options. You can get frustrated and you can be like, this is the 400th time somebody's done this, or you can say, okay, deep breath. Let's take a few seconds and let me just understand that this means I'm going to have to spend an extra 3 minutes carefully explaining to them to bring them up to a basic level of education about the industry. Okay, so when I said 24 pieces, Mr. Customer, what that meant is 24 pieces of the same artwork. And, by doing 12 pieces of one, 12 pieces of another, even though you're bringing me a total of 24 pieces, really that's two separate jobs. We have a 12-piece job and a 12-piece job. So when I gave you pricing, that was based on 24 pieces of the same artwork. And it's not that hard. If somebody is not trying to be shisty with you, they will say, oh, okay, I didn't realize that, and then they'll go back to the drawing board. If it's only when somebody is trying to be willfully, I call it aggressively ignorant. They're being willfully ignorant of what you're trying to explain to them in an attempt for you to break and just say, you know what, okay, I'll eat it, we'll do it, no problem, whatever. And in that case, it becomes pretty clear pretty quick, and you can say, you know what, I just don't think we're a good fit. I'm going to send you up the road to somebody who does DTG or transfers or whatever, something like that. But there's maybe a half dozen different instances where people find themselves ignorant of our industry, and you just kind of have to take a quick little deep breath, move on, and it's not a huge deal. But that does happen, and very rarely are people being intentionally shisty. So I'm going to scroll back down here. I'm interested in a white toner printer because I'm tired of weeding vinyl and being limited on designs. I have no room to screen print. Big Will, yeah, that's definitely going to be huge over the next month and a half, because we will find out together if a white toner printer is legitimate. I've seen the prices slowly go up the last few years. I was assuming winter would be the biggest sales, but no luck so far. Thanks for reviewing my question. Truly appreciate it. You are welcome, Desire Prince. You're absolutely welcome, man. There was a big deal made not too long ago. I don't even remember. Maybe it was January. Time's flying. But the prices of all of the Gildan shirts across the board, all the Gildan shirts went up 9%. 9%. That was it. We were, gone are the days when you could get $1.25 whites and $1.50 colors. I remember that. That was great, you know, $1.50 for colors, and then you're able to sell your shirts for $6-7 and make a good amount of money. Now the cheapest I've seen Gildan's, you know what? I'm gonna look it up, but the cheapest I've seen Gildan's lately is like $1.95. And let me see here. My screens are all reversed. But yeah, it was $1.95. I don't know what colors are now. Let me go into Alpha Broder, and y'all are gonna find out if my prices are lower than yours. So G2000. What are the G2000 prices? Starting at 232. What? That's just ridiculous. $2.32. No, okay. $2.10 for a dark color. So $2.10 for a G2000 dark color. For a G5000 on darks, we're looking at something like less. Let's find out what those are. So G2000s are 210. Black G5000s are 195. Okay, so you can get dark colored G5000 shirts, just basic heavy cotton shirts, for as cheap as $1.95 right now. But it used to be in the high 170s, low 180s last December. As far as ordering in bulk, I'm curious, why is it that your business model revolves around you ordering shirts in bulk and stocking them? Because we used to order extra shirts from every run, and what happened was we had 25 feet of two sets of rack, two runs of rack, 25 feet long, 12 feet high, and we ended up just accumulating thousands of shirts over the years, and that accumulation was completely unmanageable. You know, Carolina blue shirts and sky blue shirts. Some of them are pocketed, some of them are long sleeve, purple this, green that, and there was no rhyme or reason to it for us. We didn't have enough rack space to organize it by SKU and by sleeve length and by pocket or non-pocketed and by color and by size. There wasn't enough room in a 2,400 square foot warehouse to do that. So what would happen is we would get busy, we would order in a job, and we would never check our back stock, and it just continued to grow. But if your business model is based on, like, I don't know, stocking white and black shirts for transfers or something, is it like a mall kiosk type thing where you guys have boxes full of transfers and designs on a wall thing? Levi, good to see you, man. How you doing? So there's no confusion. Should put a disclaimer. 25 pieces of the same artwork. Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, there's only a couple things like that, Danny, where it's, you know, 24 pieces of the same artwork, the exact same locations. You know, because somebody, I'll even merge it. Like if somebody has, say, the same back where it says staff on the back of the shirts or something like that, and they get 288 pieces total for the order with a shared back, I'll give them the price discount for the 288 pieces on the back, and then I'll say, okay, we've got 72 fronts, 144 of this, whatever, and it adds up to 288. Then I'll give them the 72 piece price for the fronts, merge that with the 288 in the back, and just do a little bit of funky math to make it work. But they're happy because they're getting a lower overall price. And for me, you know, if I'm running the same ink and the same color, it doesn't matter. I don't need to make that extra little margin, you know, in a situation like that. So I keep looking here. I just got an HP white toner printer and I like it a lot. That's interesting. What model of HP white toner printer did you get, Levi? Because I'm super curious about this whole white toner thing. I hadn't heard about white toner printers. Also, 28 minutes in, I haven't said it in a little while. If you're watching the video, just press the X, like the live stream, and come back in here and hang out. Just press that like button for me. I love it. 9 likes. You guys are awesome, because that's what determines how many impressions we get, how often YouTube refers us. I mean, there's a whole lot that I'm just now diving into when it comes to the algorithm, where you either get found or you don't get found based on the numbers of likes you get, and it's pretty crazy. But yeah, so digging into the white toner printers, I had never heard of laser toner printers for darks, where you have like the rubberized backing and you go from A to B and all of that stuff. For me, it was inkjet transfers that were done on like the forever paper that were super novelty. You know, people would do it, you'd wear it once, and then and you could only do it on lights. You'd wear it once, you'd take it out, you wash it, and it comes back and it's like a faded, crackling piece of junk. And I never saw a situation where it was functional or passable in a retail setting. Like I would never professionally put my name on something like that. But taking a sip of water, but what I've seen out of some of the newer laser toner printers is very promising. My only concern as far as it goes, is the cost of the transfer paper, like a 13 by 19 A and B sheet set of transfer paper. To me, I think it was like $5, something like that, to get the A and B sides together. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to be putting out on transfer paper for a single print. That's essentially, even if toner is 20 cents, that's just about the price of a DTG print. So it's not like you're going to undercut DTG as an industry by doing a white toner printer, even if you can do stuff for darks. But I think the key difference, from what I can tell, is the fact that you never have to worry about the lines drying out, and you're not going to have to worry about maintaining the printer. I mean, that's pretty key. I don't know if I got a text or what I got here. My battery is draining. Oh, well, of course it's draining because I'm live streaming. Smash that like button. I love it. Thanks, Levi. I do the same. I buy extras on each order. Now I have extras lying around, and it's hard to manage. You know, the only saving grace for something like that, Rye, is going to be the fact that you have a brand, and you can just put out a ton of Rye Beats merch, and just any of those oddball hinky sizes, and hand out things that are going to refer people back to your YouTube channel, and that are going to push your brand and business. That's eventually what we started doing. Is like, if I had extra shirts, I just had a bunch of neighborhood print shop transfers, pop those on a shirt, hand it out to people. Hey, thanks for doing business with us. I appreciate your order of 72 pieces or 100 pieces. Here you go. Take this. Enjoy that. And it became like a business card. It cost us, what, $150, for 100 shirts, or not $150. So ring spun cotton shirts from Sanmar. This was our last run of like 100 shirts that we intentionally gave away. It was like $2.29 for their entry level district ring spun. But if you give a $2 shirt to a $700 or $800 customer as a thank you, that goes a long way, because they're going to put that in their drawer. And usually we try to set it so that the person who made the purchase decision is the one who gets the shirt. So if they're an XL or a double XL, we make sure we slip a shirt in there for them. And it goes a long way, it doesn't cost that much to throw a little tiny gift in there. It's a very like low level version of what people do when they're doing high level sales. Oh yeah, here's a couple of tickets to the ball game, and I want to close your $50,000 account. Well, $2 shirts, not that much in the grand scheme of things. But if you can get somebody to come back next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, that's really where the long-term sustainability as a screen printer comes from. It's not just people walking in the front door, or somebody finding you on Facebook and asking you if you want to do a one-off family reunion shirt. It's going to be the people who have brick and mortar businesses or services, and they're ordering 72 pieces, and then 6 months from now they're ordering 72 pieces, and then they stick with you for the life of their career, because you might only be able to make, let's say, $20,000 in sales to new customers this year. So, and that's just a random number out of the sky, but say you bring on $20,000 worth of new customers, and you hold on to 10,000 of them. Next year, you make another $20,000 worth of sales, and you hold $10,000 from that and last year. So now you're at 30,000, and you just keep doing that, where you're going to have people fall off no matter what you do, but you might be able to find that many more customers, and year 5, 6, 7, hopefully, when you're ready to make the transition over to a full-time job in screen printing or embroidery or whatever you're doing, you'll have 70, 80, 90, $100,000 worth of good, high quality, repeat business and lifelong customers that trust you sight unseen whenever they need something. That's usually the most difficult time I've had, is getting the first sale. I have to be more price conscious about how I quote things. I have to be more on the ball when it comes to communicating, and I have to be very careful with how I word things, so that I'm over articulating and over communicating, to make sure that they don't get confused and psych themselves out of a sale on the first run. And then I've had customers come back and place large orders, sight unseen, trusting me for several of the things, and I have to go back to them and say, hey, just approve this mock-up for me real quick, if you don't mind. Oh yeah, it looks great, I trust you. Send me the invoice, and they pay it. No haggling or heckling over the quote, because they've done business with me for a year or 2 years or 3 years, and you just don't have the same attention to detail whenever you've got a relationship. So that makes your job easier. You can create a sustainable business that way, and you can expect that your book of business is going to be pretty steady. So I don't know why my chat doesn't pop up. Maybe it's because I have to press the down button. So better than transfer. you say you got a 200 shirt order for a company and they want a back print all the same, but like names on the front. How would you do the names? Okay, Big Will, good question. Hopefully I didn't lose you. I always charge between $4 and $5 for personalization, and we do all of that on heat transfer vinyl. So for the backs of shirts for schools, like for high school students or whatever, middle school students, I will limit it. I'll say we have a limit of 10 characters or 10 inches or whatever it is. I can't remember what our thing is, but it's usually 10 or 12 characters for the back of the shirt names. If the shirt or if the name exceeds 10 or 12 characters, at that point we're going to scale it down. So we might be at 1.5 inch tall names up to 10 characters wide, but if it exceeds that, we're going to shrink the height of the characters so that it doesn't exceed, we'll say, 11 inches wide on the back of the shirt. What that does is it allows me to control my square foot vinyl usage costs. So if I'm charging $5, I don't want to be using $2 worth of vinyl and then weeding it for 60 seconds and then cutting it and then transferring it for 15 seconds and then retransferring it to make sure it's sealed in. That's a nightmare. But that's usually what we do is we charge for a left chest name or for a back $4.50, $5 for personalization, and that is an incredible source of income. Last year, we did a fundraiser for a school, and it was a private school that we had originally had the contract for. That was a huge loss when we lost that private school's uniform contract, especially since they grew. But they came back to us and they wanted to do a fundraiser for hoodies. We were the only ones who had ever printed pocketed hoodies where instead of being a front zip hoodie, it was like put your hands in the pocket of the hoodie. And that was like the social status item to have for every student that was grandfathered in from when we were doing the uniform and apparel business for them. So all of like the OG 8th graders that were still there from 2-3 years ago that had their hoodies were like the cool kids. So when they came to us to do a hoodie order for last year, everybody got on board. Everybody. So we charged $25 per hoodie, and 5 of it went to a fundraiser. So we brought in $20 worth of revenue for the hoodie, but then we charged an additional $5 to put their name on the back of the hoodie. We got like 95% of the kids getting names on the back of their hoodie for $5. And our cost of goods, I think I might have used one 10-yard roll of specialty materials vinyl for like $35. And it was a $7,000 order, so I don't remember what the breakdown was. 97% times $30 that came out to almost $7,000. We made a boatload of money on 10 yards of heat transfer vinyl because we were charging $5 for name personalization, and it was the must-have thing. I want my last name on the back of this thing. So that's for me, anyways. That's where I see the value in heat transfer vinyl is variable data. Easy to print out, low cost of goods relative to how much we're able to charge for a square foot of vinyl on a 15-inch wide roll, 1 foot, 15-inch wide. I'm able to fit like a dozen names or more. So at a dozen names, that's $60 for a foot of vinyl that costs me maybe $1.50. That's where I see the value in actually paying someone or getting a family member to volunteer to weed if they enjoy that kind of thing or if they're willing to do that kind of thing. So yeah, getting somebody in there weeding out all the letters, then it's worth somebody taking $8, $10 an hour to do that, not for a $15 shirt where you're burning a foot of vinyl, 2 colors worth. You've got to cut it, weed it, transfer it, and then charge $15 for it. I mean, your time is worth way more than that. And if you're running a production level shop, how are you ever going to scale? That's a question I have. If you are doing heat transfer vinyl, cutting your prices, doing like Etsy level prices on something that's going to take you a half hour to do, and making minimum wage. That's not how you get to the point where you can employ someone. That's not how you get to the point where you can open up a storefront. That's not how you get to the point where you can ever expect or hope to get an $80,000 or $100,000 piece of equipment. It's just not going to happen. So you should not feel ashamed to charge $20 to $25 for a one-off shirt. You should not feel bad about turning down jobs or pricing where you need to be. In my live stream the other day, one of the things we were talking about was what do we price jobs at? And I said, if you are pricing a job, get on CustomInk.com. Go see what they're charging and charge either what they're charging if you've got to ship it, or charge 50 cents less if you're going to deliver it locally. And for me, 5 or 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, that would have been mind blowing. I'm thinking Custom Ink is way too overpriced. Then I had a call with Mark Kudroy, who advises people on how to grow their businesses. He has a launch what is it, a launch program or an incubator or something, where he moves people from 350,000 to a million, and he gave me a few free tidbits from what he does in his courses. It's like a $9,000 growth acceleration program, and those were the nuggets that I pulled out. If you're not at custom ink prices while offering a better service because you're local, you're right there. Most of you are helping people with art. You're not forcing them to upload print ready art to your website. You're walking them through the process. You're providing a level of specialization. There's a lot that you're bringing to the table. Charge for it. Make sure you're getting paid for what you're doing. Absolutely. All right, enough monologuing. It's exactly what I use them for. I was about to say that to Rye. Use those shirts as brand merch. Yep, absolutely. It goes on the show shirt after one wash. It feels just like screen printing and sublimation combined. Interesting. So I would love to see what that looks like, Levite. Maybe you could email me a picture of something you... Oh, yeah. Well, if you did a video on it, your very next message, I can take a peek at it. $15 a shirt is not fun, but I got to learn the business and software. I quoted a lady $35 for a 3-color glitter birthday shirt, short notice, because I really didn't want to do it. She said yes, $35 for a 2 t-shirt. It's hard to beat. That's really hard to beat. We used to charge, back when we had our cams machine, we would charge 2 or 3 cents per rhinestone. And very often we would get 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 rhinestone shirts. The 3,000 rhinestone shirts were usually the tiny rhinestones, and those were closer to a penny a rhinestone. But I mean, that thing would use like a vacuum and go doom, 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 doom. So you're making, I can't remember how many it would do a minute, but it was something like 40 or 50 bucks an hour for running transfers onto the rhinestone machine. But that was the last time we charged like 35 bucks for a custom one-off. I have ideas about the cams machines too, but I'll leave that alone. So I see 11 people in here. I know there's been some turnover. If you're here, last time I said this was at 28 minutes, so I feel comfortable doing it. Press the little X on the top right and like the stream if you don't mind. Make sure you like it, even if you're not going to hang out for that long. It helps out a ton. And then come back in here and join us. Just do a quick like on it, real quick, even if you're on your phone. It doesn't take that much. I won't be going anywhere, I promise. Got some people that want artwork that haven't paid. So that's a big one. Why is it, Levite, that you did artwork for somebody without getting paid up front? I'll say this on the topic of taking deposits and getting paid. Lately, I've been taking a 65% upfront deposit before I do artwork for people. If they want, we quote out the job, we get all the details together, because it doesn't do for you to pull together complex artwork on behalf of a customer, and then they decide, well, I don't really want to do this after all, and they say, well, I'm not going to pay you. Usually, it's not that hard to pull together. I want black hoodies, and I want this type of artwork. I see it in my head, but I need to see it on paper, and I want this many. You get all the details pulled together, and you say, okay, great. Now I'm going to iterate on your art after I take a 50% deposit, always. And then, if they back out of the deal after the fact, almost always, you're going to have at least revenued the cost of goods. That's what it is. And the reason I did 65% on deposit was because I took fleece. But I've been strongly considering 100% down. The only reason that I feel like you shouldn't take 100% down is if potentially you're still at the phase where it's difficult for you to motivate yourself to finish a job. If you've taken all of the money, if you're worried that you're not going to be motivated to finish it because you get the money in, you spend it on all your bills, and then you leave the person hanging, that's not okay. You need to incentivize yourself. But if you're an established shop or an established business, you don't pay a 50% deposit to Amazon to deliver your Kindle, or your latest whatever it is you're buying. Of course not. When you go to Amazon, you pay up front. Why on earth, if somebody's going way out of their way to put a really complex setup together, an artisan craft, why on earth wouldn't you charge at least half, or ideally 60, 65% or more up front? And I think that's really the direction we're moving, is charging anywhere from 60 to 100% up front, because it puts us in a completely different realm of power dynamic. And I'm not a power player. I don't play games with people. House of Beast, that's a really good point. And that if it's under $1,000, that's a great place to start. If it's under $1,000, take 100% up front. But if it's over $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, even if you've got a net 30 account, take that cash up front, pay out for your shirts, pay out for your cost of goods. If say you're getting a big job and you need to order a larger set of ink, you need a gallon of ink or whatever to do their job, pay all your expenses for it up front. Be done. You know what I mean? Get it completely out of the way, and then do the job. And no matter what they do, if they walk away from their shirts and you haven't gotten paid, at least you're not out the cost of goods, materials. You may be out your labor, you may be out your electricity, and certainly your time, and it's not okay. But the vast majority of the time, the power dynamic just changes, and it goes from you chasing them for money after you deliver the shirts, and that's a crummy place to be. The last time I did it we have one customer in particular that has like old school net terms, trying to chase a check down from this joker is ridiculous. And he is independently wealthy. This dude is a mega millionaire, travels the world, does all kinds of stuff, and it's like you gotta pin him up against a wall to get your stupid check out at the end of his job. And it's like he guilts you for trying to get your money out of him. I said, finally, forget it, dude. Before I order the first shirt, I don't care if these are due tomorrow. That money's going to clear my bank account before I do anything for you because you're paying the butt to work with, and I felt comfortable telling him that. But take a deposit. And the last time, this is 2015 or 16, was the last time I didn't take a deposit or anything up front. And I'll tell you, it was a company. Well, no, I won't tell you. The company who commissioned shirts from us, we did a bunch of creative for them. They were into like mud driving. They did lifted trucks. They did like mud runs and stuff like that. And they had their own clothing line. And they wanted us to come up with the brand new logo. They wanted us to come up with like sleeve art, hat art, just everything. We did a knock it out of the park run of 2 different brand umbrellas that they had, and it was incredible stuff that we did. And we did their order, and the first part of their order took a deposit. So say they had a $1,200 or $1,500 creative followed by a $1,000 order. We took a deposit on the first part. But halfway into that order, the wife who was in with a lot of the creative side of this brand development bumped up the quantity of beanies, long sleeve shirts, and t-shirts by a lot. And we ended up like over doubling the order, and we didn't take a deposit on that increase. So what happened was our cost of goods increased far beyond the original deposit. So we'll say the initial order was for somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000, and it jumped up to about $5,500 after their quantity discounts. She okayed it. Apparently her husband didn't. They came back with, once we delivered, they came back with, well, I never okayed it. I never said it was okay to increase this quantity. Why did you throw in more? It's not our fault you did that. They kept them. They didn't pay the balance of them. They walked away and they disappeared into the sunset, and we weren't able to collect from them. So that was the most irksome and frustrating experience ever, because we took a deposit initially, but we didn't take a deposit on the change order, and we got super hung on it. And to this day, I'm kind of a little irked about it. Yeah, exactly. Cover the costs, then get paid on labor. If a customer puts money down, yes, that's a House of Beasts. You're on point today. You totally get it. As soon as a customer puts down money on a job, they're on you. Is it going to be ready? Are you ready with it? How's the production doing? If you don't take a deposit, then there's no commitment on their side at all, and then you're the one chasing them for the money. Hey, do you like the shirts? Are you happy with the shirts? Okay, great. And then they can get back, well, there was a spot on the bottom right side of one, and the seam wasn't too and they can rip it to shreds. You know what I mean? But you get that half down, and then for whatever reason, not only are they on you for getting the shirts from you, when are they going to be ready? But they seem so much more willing to pay if you charge them when they pick up. So say they have to pay the balance on pickup. They're so much more willing to pay that balance on pickup, and to the point where it almost seems like psychologically they feel like they're getting the shirts for half price. It's the weirdest thing. But if you do it side by side, and these can be people from the same like demographics, they could go to the same Rotary Club, the same church, sit in the pews next to each other and drive the same car. It doesn't matter. For whatever reason, the dynamic just shifts, and it just flips a little switch in their mind, and it's so much easier on your part. And just like having a conversation up front with people about artwork, or about change orders, or about changes to quotes when they adjust quantities, being upfront with someone. You know what? I can't print on the pocket of the hoodie because it's not going to stick to the platen, and I can't guarantee that the shirt's not going, or not the shirt, the pocket of the hoodie is not going to drift around if I don't get it perfect the first time. That's why I can't do this for you. I can't do an all over print that goes across the back of the shirt and goes over the seam on it, because on the platen, this part is going to bleed and it's going to flow everywhere, and you're going to end up having all kinds of problems whenever you try to lay that ink down on it, because that fabric isn't laying flat where the seam doubles up the fabric. We had this happen the other day. They said, well, I've seen all over prints before. I saw somebody wearing a shirt that had a 20 something inch long wide print. I said, yes. But if you look at the blank shirt, they call it like a cheer jersey. The girls wear the cheer jerseys. If you look at the back of the shirt, it doesn't matter what size of shirt the girl is wearing. It's like a 2XL wide at the top. They all are at least 30 something inches at the top, even if the seam, the shoulder seam, starts at the elbow, because you can't have a seam if you're printing a big oversized print. So, and then it may taper down way down to be a girl's small or medium or whatever it is. But that's why it works for that. That's why it doesn't work for a hoodie. And they say, well, I saw this Champion drop, or I saw this Kanye drop, and they had information all the way across. And I said, well, right, they did. But if you look at it, it was cut and sewn. They printed that or sublimated on it, or whatever they did with it before it was manufactured. And the reason they're able to do that was because they're doing thousands of pieces. They can do it economically. Mr. Customer, with your 24 pieces, I just simply can't do a full color print that goes from elbow to elbow, unbroken, perfectly for $2.99. It's not going to happen. So just explaining that to people usually gets them to the point where they understand. But I try not to say, no, we can't do this, and then leave it at that. We'll say, okay, so this is why that's not feasible. How about this alternative thing? How about we try this, or we do that, and then you offer them an alternative solution. Well, we can't do anything that's going to touch the seams, but if we bring that in, what if we did, something additional on the sleeve and had it broken up, but changed the design so that it makes sense to have text on the sleeve and a design on the back, instead of having to have this, multicolored galaxy print that spans the whole thing. People sometimes just fixate, especially if they're not familiar with the where the walls are. They just fixate on a certain type of art or a certain look or something they've seen. And when you tell them, okay, well, we can do that, but we're going to have to go to China, and you're going to have 500 pieces, and it's going to be a minimum of this, and it's going to take 6 to 12 weeks. Oh, well, I didn't realize that. So I will tell them, yeah, this is how much it'll cost to get that done roughly, and then this is how much it'll cost to get it done a more traditional way. And people are usually pretty reasonable. 52 minutes. If you haven't already, and you're here because I see people coming and going, press the little X on the top right, give it a thumbs up, come back and rejoin us. But make sure you like the live stream. 13 likes so far. I love it. We've got more likes than people, which is an odd place to be, but I'm okay with that. Make sure you like it real quick. If you're on mobile, just press X, like it, press it, come back. You're good to go. If you're on your computer, just scroll down a little bit, like it. I'm not going anywhere. Everything's good. 13 people, 13 likes. Let's bunch that up. So I had a lady who needs 27 mugs. Many emails occurred between us. I'm super curious to hear that story, Levite. You got a lot of cool stories. Let me scroll up a little bit. House of Beats. If my customers put money down, they seem to. Yep, we already talked about that. That's my issue, not having time to finish, as you know. Hold on, let me read that again. That's my issue, not having time to finish, as you know. You do artwork from scratch, and they say change this, change that. Oh, that's a tough one. So, if I understand you correctly, you're saying you have customers that are unclear when they first walk in the front door, and you go back and forth with them for art, and you're having to make iteration after iteration for them. And like that can be a difficult situation. We had that happen in the logo business side of things that I did back in 2008, 2009. The very first logo that I took money for, and this was, no, you didn't, Ian Z. I'll stay on for a little while longer, no problem. Yeah, we're an hour in, but I'm not gonna kick you guys out. What time is it? 9:11? Yeah, we can go for a little while. So the very first logo job that I took, and this is long before the screen printing business, was for a now defunct website, shortsalesnegotiations.com is what it was called. Shortsalesnegotiations.com. Inns, make sure you like the live stream. I'll know because we have 13 likes and it'll go to 14. I'm watching you, buddy. So shortsalesnegotiations.com was my very first logo. The guy had no clue what he wanted. I mean, when I say no clue, I mean zero clue what he wanted. And we went back and forth like 25 or 26 times. I legitimately put together 24 logos for this guy because he had no clue what he wanted, and I was charging like $150. It was a nightmare. It was ENDS. There we go. It was like it was ridiculous. The dude was going through divorce. He was like getting on the phone and getting like verbally abusive with me. It was bad. That was the absolute worst. When I got done with that nasty situation, I said, never again. I'm putting a 3-round limit on my stuff. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But in hindsight, I realized that it actually was my fault. I didn't ask the right questions up front. I didn't walk him through the type of questions that he needed to answer so that we could identify what he needed out of that. What was the look and feel of his brand? What kind of reputation did he want to have? How did he want to be perceived in the market? These are all things that through the years, being in a brand focused screen printing and marketing style of business, you pick up, and you realize that building a brand is more than just a logo. It's more than the look and feel. It's your reputation. It's what people feel and think and see when they think of you or your logo or your shop or your business. You look at Apple and you have a certain perception of what that means to be a part of that tribe. You know, you look at Amazon and you have a certain perception of what that business is, and it's high energy and it's charismatic. And creating a logo as a designer where you're just getting paid X amount of dollars to try to decipher 2 sentences from your customer and divine what they have in their head, because that's what it is. A customer who's difficult like that, who doesn't know what they want, they're not creative. They have a vague idea of what a logo should look like or how it should feel when they see it in their head, but they might not visually see that. And the feeling they're looking to recreate might not be physically possible. And the way they're not communicating it to you, they not only can't they design, but they can't draw. And in their lack of communication to you, you're just throwing darts at a wall without seeing what the dartboard is. And that's very frustrating as a designer. And there are ways around that. I mean, that's not really what this channel is about, but learning how to communicate with the customer and just walking them through the process in a way that avoids issues for yourself down the road is the best feeling. It is the absolute best feeling. I don't want to like pat myself on the back, but there's been like 3 or 4 situations in the last month where I look at it and I handle the situation a certain way, you know, and I communicate up front with a customer and I explain why I can't do something, but I'll do something different. And I look and I'm like, man, I've been completely railroaded. This has gone super wrong for me in the past. You know, by not having this conversation, I know it would have blown up for me. For instance, promising a customer that I could have something by New Year's. They need something for New Year's Day, and they need me to get it to them before New Year's. Now, I told them, okay, great. Get me the art 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. Get me the art 3 weeks ago, and let me explain to you my timeline. This is how I approached it. It's going to take me 3 days to pull these garments in. I can do production in as little as 2 business days, and then it's going to take me 3 days to get them to you. So that means I need to have eight business days to get this production done and to you. As long as you give me the 8 business days to do this, that's when I can have them to you. So what happened was we had 3-week buffers. You know, we had a full 3-week buffer before it was super due. And then 3 weeks turned into 2 weeks, and we still didn't have art, and they didn't have budget approval. Then 2 weeks turned into 1 week, and we still didn't have art, and we didn't have budget approval. And in the past, I wouldn't have had that. I would have said, absolutely, we can get it to you by New Year's Eve, or whatever it was. And now the pressure would have been building on me to make sure that I could deliver them on time, because I said, with no asterisks, with no qualifications, absolutely I can get them to you on time. Big red flag. Because now the burden of getting them done on time falls on me, even though I can't do my job without the customer giving me the artwork and the quantity and the sizes and the deposit. So because I said it's going to take me 8 business days, and I'm not working on Christmas or Christmas Eve, and I'm already doing this and I'm already doing that, I said, it's going to take me 8 business days. So if you want them by then, get them to me in advance. And if we cross that threshold, then you're going to be getting them New Year's Day, or you're going to be getting them the day after New Year's, or whatever. And now I feel free as could be. I feel so relieved. And every day that passes that I don't have the artwork and the deposit's late, I feel fine because it's no longer on me. I told them what the timeline looks like. The deposit just came through and I'm still waiting for the artwork. I don't feel bad. They know that I'm going to get started and we're going to get them done and we'll send them up when we can. But I didn't tell them, I promise you, Mr. Customer, I'll have them by New Year's. I told them it's going to be 8 business days. That's the fastest I can get it to you. If you waited too long, you waited too long. And we'll do what we can to help you, but we're not gonna kill ourselves during the holiday season. We're not gonna be working during Christmas dinner. We're not gonna miss memories with our family. And a lot of this stuff tends to happen around the holidays. You know, back in 2013, 2014, I was literally printing shirts at 11:30 at night on Christmas Eve to get them to a customer that didn't appreciate me, didn't value my time, wasn't willing to pay what we were worth, and would complain in a heartbeat just so I could do what I said I was going to do when I said I was going to do it. And looking back, it's like, man, you know what? It was great to have that experience, but just a simple conversation of putting the responsibility on the customer and explaining to them what needs to happen, and then leaving it there makes you so free. It's fantastic to be in that situation. So it's an hour in, guys. If you want me to hang out for longer, I gotta go get some water because I'm getting dry mouth. But while I'm going to get water, take a minute to like and subscribe if you aren't already. There's 14 people in here. I know all 14 of you haven't liked yet. Just take a minute. X out, like it, come back in. I'll be here whenever you get back. I see 15 likes. Hopefully it'll be more. So, I figured I would grab a beer, a Barks root beer. No caffeine, so I can still get to bed on time. All right. Did I miss anything except the fact that the like has not gone up, which is okay. I get it. Some quality H2O. Yeah, you heard my filter work in overdrive back there, didn't you? This is just the best. So let me take a peek at the chat real quick and see what we've got here. Danny with its crying smiley face. Close enough. I tried. Ends. Sometimes I can't pronounce. What is the model number of the eye color you were talking about looking at? Big Will, I appreciate you still hanging out with me. The i800W. So let me see here. Well, I can't really show you anything on the screen. It's the i800W. So that one is the Mac Daddy integrated drum underbase white high-speed production level printer. It's not what they call, they've self-coined it as a business in a box, the i550 and the i600. The i550 and the i600 allow you to swap out the cartridges because it's cartridge and drum in one, and you can change it for fluorescent toner. You can go to UV toner or clear coat, black light tone. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with those, but I guess they're not rated for as much of a duty cycle or a monthly production. Their cost of ink is a little higher, or the cost of toner is higher. So there's several things, and the width on it. The i550 specifically, my gripe with it was it's an 8.5-inch wide maximum print width, which I hate to say it, but as a screen printer, that's just about useless. Well, not totally useless, but 8.5 inches wide as the shortest dimension is difficult because you can spot from a mile away somebody wearing an 8.5 by 11 shirt. You know, even an 8.5 by 14, you're just limited. You can't do the big 12-inch wide by 16-inch long prints that we do so often for screen printing. And it works for a left chest and maybe a back name of a company and a logo and stuff like that, but it's not. Certain sizes are just not professional. I don't think so. An i550 would be something that you could do as a stopgap for entry level type production, and I think they have a program that allows you to stitch it together to do bigger stuff. but that's super time consuming. Whereas I think the i800 has the ability to do 13-inch wide prints. Perfect. The vast majority of what I do on my i800 anyways is 12 and a half inch wide prints by 14-inch long. That's the vast majority of what I do. 12 and a half inches wide, 14 inches long, screen printing all day long, no problem. And that's very professional looking. And if this white toner printer can do that, and there's supposedly several settings. They have a custom rip that you can buy separately that has, like, they introduce halftone dots into it so water can pass through when you're washing. And there's a lot of workarounds, other things for like stretching. So instead of it ripping, it'll do like a bunch of tiny little vertical lines where that there's holes in the ink so that it'll stretch along the fabric instead of like cracking and ripping. So there's some really cool things that I wasn't aware of. Like halftone fading off to the side of the sheet. There's no weeding anymore, which I wasn't aware of. Instead of having like a box where you see like all rubberized transfer on the front of the shirt in the shape of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, now it naturally peels off and you don't see any of that. Simulated process style halftones on the different stuff. There's some really, really cool things on paper and over the phone when you're talking to them that sound great, and I'm excited to see if it lives up to the hype. And if it does, I guarantee that I'm going to be a crusader about it. But I want to test it, wash it, feel it, grab it, claw at it. I want to sink my teeth into it because even DTG. I was a little skeptical of DTG because screen printing, you print it, and I've got shirts in my closet that are ages old. Shirts from high school that if you wear them and wash them, then they're still good. They're good until the shirt falls apart out from underneath them. DTG's not like that. You get 30, 40 washes out of it. I'd say 40 washes on the high end, probably 25 to 30 washes at absolute most. You're not going to have a DTG shirt for more than a year before it just kind of peels and rips and flakes and cracks, and it doesn't stay. It doesn't stay as long. Asterisk. My knowledge is limited to DuPont inks from 2010 to 2013, but DTG doesn't last as long as screen printing. In my experience over the years, it's just because there's typically a thinner deposit, and the process is different to get it on there. But if heat transfer is on par with at least DTG, 25, 30 washes with reasonable retention of the graphic, most people aren't going to keep their shirts that long, or they'll beat them up, or they'll snag them, or they'll hook them, or they'll drill a hole into them. I could feel comfortable with that. I would feel comfortable recommending and wearing and selling professionally shirts, because specifically our employee merchandise portal. Now, this is privy information only to those of you who have made it an hour and 7 minutes into this video who are watching after the fact, and the 15 of you who are in the room right now. The employee merchandise portal, I think, is the best thing since sliced bread. I know Printavo has a built-in feature. I don't particularly like that, the off-the-shelf grab things out of SanMar. I like a more handcrafted approach to the employee merchandise portal. We build portals from the ground up, type our own descriptions of the items in and everything, and build it that way so it looks like an actual storefront as opposed to the tiny little 100 by 400 pixel logo, old school HTML, all that stuff. No, handcraft it. But I think that is a huge boon for a lot of your businesses. We just signed on a customer who has 38 employees. Each employee gets $300 worth of merchandise a year. Every new employee that onboards gets $150 up front, $150 90 days into their hiring. So you've got 38 people per year guaranteed times 300. It's 11,400 or whatever it is. It's over 11 grand per year from the customer. They're already in your system. They're not going to go anywhere because, well, they're very unlikely to change. In fact, me getting them to transfer from who they had to us was very difficult because it was convenient. It was easy for them. And it wasn't until I said, look, this is how we craft our portals. It's a lot different experience than what you're used to. I can create account balances and have it like a running bank account, and I can tack on. You're not going to get one-time use gift cards and weird discount codes and all of this stuff. It's going to be so much better than what you've got because I built it myself. They just kind of had this light bulb moment and said, oh, okay, well, great. And then we got in, we had like a try-on party. We had a couple of the girls from the office, that I brought 50 plus samples in for them to try on. They're giggling and they're trying it on. They're loving it. And they're happy, and they loved it. It was like a makeup and jewelry party for them. And one of the women just happened to be a decision maker, and she onboarded. They were super happy. They're super stoked. So now, I think that's huge. However, I'm offering a lot of stuff on there that's screen printed. So if you watched the last several minutes and you heard me explain, I'm offering screen printed items, but one of their employees could literally buy one screen printed T-shirt, and I've been racking my brain to figure out how I was going to make this work because we have an automatic. So for me to put two screens on for the front, two screens on for the back, register $100, I could spend an hour for one shirt that's only worth $4 or $5. That's not financially viable. And I've been thinking up until now that I was going to have to buy Plastisol transfers as a stopgap measure. So I would have the big order that happens in January. We would take care of everybody's stuff all at once, and we would knock it all out, and that would be the vast majority of it. And I thought, okay, that'll work. And then I thought, well, they're going to have probably a lot of people who don't spend all of their money up front. There's going to be people who hold on to their balance because we're rolling balances over from last year. And then there's going to be people who buy just throughout the year. There's going to be people who get hired and fired and buy throughout the year. And they could be buying 1, 2, 3 pieces. If too much of that happens, and we have a half dozen of these customers with employee portals, I have to have a quality, low volume, high complexity, one-off solution to be able to fulfill orders like that, because I would much rather spend 5 to 7 minutes and even $4. I would be happy to spend 7 minutes and $4 to do a one-off shirt that still gives me $3 or $4 profit to keep a customer happy that's worth $12,000 to $15,000 when the vast majority of their work is happening in a contiguous 8 or 10 hour period in January. If you followed me, if I can run the vast majority of their stuff in January at one time on the automatic, and that 8 or 10 hours worth of work is generating me $7,000 or $8,000 in profit, I would happily spend out of pocket $4 and 7 minutes to make sure that I keep them happy and stay in contact and deliver their chintzy little orders as they come up throughout the year. Embroidery is not an issue because you fire up an embroidery machine, drop your DST over to your stitch program, and it sends to the machine. You fire it up and you go. It doesn't take much. It's evergreen. There's almost no maintenance that you have to perform on the machine from a daily walk in there and handle it type of perspective. And most of their stuff is that left chest embroidery, hat embroidery, stuff like that. But there's enough of the screen printing that I was genuinely worried. And now it looks like maybe I have the option to produce professionally generated transfers that are going to be on par with DTG without the headache of DTG. So I'm super excited to find out if that works. Now let me see. Hopefully you guys have been chatting. Just got a similar custom. This is Rye Beats from a little while ago. Bark does have a bite. It does. Let me take a sip. Sponsored by PepsiCo. Just got a similar customer last month. Very pushy on what he wanted. Told him X amount of days. Constantly DM'd me 3 times a day until I shipped it out. Frustrating. Yeah, sometimes you get people like that. There's a lot of people who, especially in the creative arena, sometimes they have OCD. Sometimes they're very attention to detail oriented, and they've got these oddball quirks. Especially larger buyers for brands and stuff. I've run into the quirkiest people in those situations. Love it. Thanks, Ends. Big Will, I love when people ask, can I have something done by the weekend? Like I don't have 10 people in front of them asking that. Yeah, I'm telling you, especially when we had our storefront and we had kiosk type business, where people are just walking in and it was a revolving door. Oh man, we had that all the time. Oh yeah, man, I just want to get X number of pieces by the weekend, as if 5 pieces is easier than 25 pieces or whatever. It's like Ends without the Z, without the D. Enzo. Oh, okay, Enzo. Ends. Yeah, I've seen a few of them at the IS and Printing United. Cigar City has some good beers. Danny Ramos, how do you know about Cigar City? Because that's in Ybor and Tampa area, right around the corner from us. They tried to tell me their software will be able to layer them seamlessly. 8 by 12 inch will stitch to 16 by 12. Yeah, it's called Stitch Fix or something like that. Big Will. It looks like it'd work. I just don't know if it will turn an 8.5 by 11 sheet into a 16 by 11 sheet, and at the same time bump up your production time to manually stitch that together into like 20-30 minutes. Like if it takes me 20 or 30 minutes to do an oversized shirt, a product has to make my life easier. It has to benefit me in some way, and it has to be at least somewhat economically viable. And for me, a half an hour of my time, I typically value it at $200 or $300 an hour. I don't charge that if I'm on the phone consulting with people, and I'm on here live streaming with y'all for free because I enjoy it. But when I think in terms of production on the automatic, like I want to be at $200 or $300 an hour profit. And if I'm switching over to do a heat transfer myself and I'm charging $8 or $10, come on, like it's way too low, and it starts eating into other areas of your business. I bought a box of 8.5 by 11 transparency sheets when I started printing. Still never opened them. I'll bet you they're kind of ruined by now if they're not sealed. But I'm kind of curious. Is it inkjet transfer paper ends, or is it laser transfer jet paper? And what kind of printer are you using to transfer onto? And then Levite, it can print halftone, so water can pass through increasing the image quality. Yes, right. It'll print a halftone on it. The new printers that I'm looking at have the ability to not only like simulate off the edge, so you could have like think like a cat fur fading to black. It'll fall off the edge in a halftone way instead of having like a hard trimmed outline or edge, or like black overprinted on the white underbase to generate that. It'll literally halftone it and fade off the edge, which is really cool, and then it'll halftone throughout the image itself to allow water to pass through. So not only do you have a garment that's breathable, even if it's a full 12 by 16, you can have a garment that's breathable, potentially, allegedly, but it's also more likely to hold up in subsequent washes in the washer, and it's likely to resist stretching, flexing, and cracking, like old school heat transfer would. Before, you took a heat transfer, like a shirt that you could normally like just stretch, like I can even stretch this, and this is a plastisol transfer. You see how it flexes? Boop, boop, boop. That's a plastisol transfer from FM Expressions. So there's flex to it. You do that to an old school laser toner heat transfer, it's like just cracking sun bleached plastic, just shreds. You hear it like that. It's terrible, And that's something that if they've addressed that with the RIP software and the adjusted and increased quality of A to B transfers, sure, smack it, flip it, rub it down. I don't know what that means. It can print halftones, so water can pass through. Wah. How many different designs does this company have? Makes plastisol transfers. Ends makes plastisol transfers. I didn't know that. Do you have a vacuum table ends? I would be curious to know that. Think about it. If you print the image on film and then put it on a screen to burn, just remove the screen and go straight to the shirts. I see what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. Except imagine every time you went to go burn a screen, instead of being able to just burn it to a screen, rig the screen up and print 9 seconds a shirt, now you have to go like print a film for a screen, transfer it every single time. So it's like the worst part of my printing process, the most time consuming part, the outputting of the films and burning. It's like that for every single one of the shirts I want to print instead of being able to batch it out. You just realized I grabbed a root beer. Yeah, you're not allowed to actually drink anything alcoholic on YouTube. So when I said beer, I meant the old Barks. Message retracted. Did you say something dirty? It's transparency film, not transfer paper. Oh, okay. I'm curious. Live in Mickey's house, at least nearby. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, we're not that far from Orlando. We're in Lakeland, so it's pretty close. But I used to live in the Brandon area over there by Tampa, and I'm aware of Joe Redner and all the craziness and his sons that started Cigar City Brewing. Vacuum Platens, yeah, man, that's awesome. Hit that like button. Rye, I love it. Yeah, we got 14 people watching the live stream right now. I know not all of you have liked the stream so far, so if you don't mind, take a minute, either press the X button on the top right and press that like button and pop right back in. I'm not going anywhere. Or scroll down just a fraction of a couple of inches. Press that like button. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. Typically, I'm more scripted than this. I'm more concise in my delivery of whatever I'm saying on the topic of the day. I haven't had a lot of time to make content lately, like well thought out content. However, at a minute or an hour and 20 minutes in, I will tell you guys, I just bought for my camera. Oh, speaking of, I don't mind showing you guys this. This is my A7 III. This is what is that? Oh, sticky glue. This is the A7 III with the Tamron 2875. So this is the 4K footage camera machine monster. And I use that to film, but I just picked up a teleprompter for it from Amazon. Picked up a teleprompter for it. I picked up a Deity 3 something or another microphone because it's supposed to be better than the Rode Video Mic Pro. And then I picked up something else for it. I picked up a better tripod because the teleprompter is going to be 5 pounds or 5 pounds 9 ounces. My wife's iPad is going to be another 10 ounces. The camera is already 4 pounds. The microphone is going to be another pound, and just all of that stuff stacked together is going to be like a 15-pound camera rig with the teleprompter intact. It's going to be ridiculous. So I had to pick up a new tripod to make that all work, and that's going to be in like right before Christmas. So all of the videos that I've produced scripts for, typically, if you've heard me say it before, I have to like look down, memorize a line, look back up at the screen, deliver the line, and my one video, I'm just like edit out all of my blinks so it looks like I never blink, and it's difficult. But from what I've heard, if you can just look at the camera lens and read your lines off, you can focus on your facial expressions, you can focus on your delivery, the intonations, you can really connect with the camera a lot better. And that's what I'm hoping will happen with that. On top of that, content wise, because I'm getting flown up to New York to train on that new machine, I'm going to be filming the trip up to New York while I'm there, shaking hands. All that's going to be filmed. I'm going to film whatever they say, and I'm going to be real careful about that, because if I film too much of it, it could be like, so Mr. Salesman, tell me about this machine. What, and then he's like, oh, well, all of these fancy features are phenomenal. It's a fast moving 200, whatever. We're not going to do any of that kind of crap. I want to learn, and I want to like shake hands and show like the story about me going up. And then I'm going to have my unboxing video, and my review is going to be after I like kind of familiarize myself with it. There'll be a series of videos on that. However, I also have, a video that I'm working on right now with the Podcast Discovery Show. There are a couple of buddies of mine from high school that have a pretty successful podcast that's now hit that inflection point where they're starting to get, like 500, 700, 800, 1,000, 1,200 views and downloads on each one of their podcasts every time they put an episode out, and growing. So they're really starting to skyrocket, and we're launching a merchandise line for them, and we're helping them grow there. I've also got a video that I'm putting together for, there's a couple of Christian music singers that we're working with, and we're relaunching their merchandise lines in a very powerful way. And I'm going to China. I was going to China to source jewelry and source sublimated socks and just all kinds of different stuff. So discussing the import-export process, all of the steps of what is X work, what is FOB, what is this, what is that on the shipping side. So if somebody gives you a price that says, oh, well, I can get you this for 75 cents a piece, what's the actual cost that it's going to be to go from their doorstep to your doorstep, and all of the process in between, and some of the cultural differences and language barriers, because the only language I speak is English, and I read a little bit of Spanish, but it's not that hard to do business overseas if you know how to navigate that roadmap, and I think there's a lot of value, because you can either be a screen printer that is a commodity screen printer where the only thing you can compete with everybody else around you is on price, or you can be a screen printer that brings something extra to the table. And that's what I've been really trying to do, is differentiating myself from the crowd in terms of either I'm adding expertise, or I'm willing to go to links that other people aren't, or just you have to figure out what you can bring to the table, that unique thing that makes you, that you can leverage to say, well, this is why you need to do business with me. This is why you need to do business with Levi, with Rybeats, with Inns, with Danny Ramos, whatever it is, whoever you are. There's a reason why people want to do business with you, and it can't just be because you're $6.95 and the guy at the street's $7.25. It can't, because in that case there's no loyalty. You can't build a book of business that you can rely on, and it comes back to bite you. And I know when I was a commodity printer, in fact, there was a really big print contract that we lost this year in December. It was the equivalent loss of profit of as if I worked a minimum wage job, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks out of the year. That just didn't happen. And the reason we lost it is because the person who was originally the purchaser, who we had a good relationship with, turned the purchasing decision over to a second party last year. We got the bid again, but we didn't have a strong relationship with her. She turned it over to somebody who was doing the purchasing, and I don't know if they were working with the WWE, like the wrestling people, to do the merchandise this time around, but whatever it was, we lost that bid. And it was just like, ooh, it's just like getting punched in the gut when you're expecting a very large chunk of money to come in and a very significant amount of business to be run. Man, I was stoked to be able to run a several thousand piece job through multiple locations on my brand new automatic, my relatively new automatic, because we got the automatic since the last order. And the last time we did it on a manual press, 3 locations with a white flash white on it, it took a long time. It took 10 or 12 days to do 3 locations on several thousand pieces, white flash white, because I was the only one who was skilled enough to put down a consistent pass. So I had a little bit of help loading sometimes. I had help at the end of the dryer. I had help with people doing logistics as far as bringing boxes in and taking boxes out and boxing them up and counting them in, and all of the excess stuff. There was 2 or 3 people at all times doing the other stuff around me, but doing a manual printer 8 or 10, 12 hours a day is fatiguing, is extremely fatiguing. Your lower back hurts, the front of your stomach hurts, your legs hurt, your arms hurt, everything just gets wiped out. So I was excited. I'm like, oh, I get to turn myself into a loader and an unloader, and I'm not going to shred my arms on this huge job. And it walked out. And it's because in the eyes of the new purchaser, we were a commodity. And for whatever reason, either our price wasn't great or they didn't like the color of our logo. Who knows? We lost that job. And if you find yourself in the position where you're pigeonholed as a commodity printer, that's a rough spot to be in. So anyways, that's that. How did I go from 15 likes to 14 likes? Did I tick somebody off that bad? Yikes. It's okay though. So at an hour and 26 minutes, I'm going to take a look here for some extra questions from everybody. If you haven't already, take a second to press the like button, and let's see what we got here. So Big Will said, if I recall, the AB process takes a while under the heat press, and then again, pressing it to the shirt was a while also. So I don't know. I don't know how long that is, but I mean, 20, 30 seconds transferring from A to B is not terrible. 20, 30 seconds transferring from B to the shirt, not terrible again. When you compare it to DTG, if I can print out 30 transfers, for instance, boom, 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 30 transfers all at once, I don't have to babysit that. I don't have to unload or reload a shirt every few seconds while that's happening. I don't have to manage the pre-treat machine and heat press the pre-treated shirt and take the pre-treated shirt over to the platinum loaded in. There's not all of that headachy production line stuff with this. 30 transfers, and then go over there and you assembly line the transfers A to B, and you go from that to transferring onto a shirt. I can do that. I can definitely do that. I just need to see what that looks like in practice. I'm losing my voice from an hour and a half of monologuing. No, you can do multiple colors on one film. How do you do multiple colors on one film, Levi? I know we were talking about the analogy between screens and doing transfers, I think, is what I was following you with. Were you saying that you can do like the entire print in the equivalent time of a film? Because I was just saying it's like every shirt is like burning a film. I don't know where in New York. I will definitely mention that in the video, Jason. Right? Yep. You dang salesman. Love working for artists. That's when I was just putting on my best sales voice. Okay, I see what you guys are talking about. Love working for artists. They know what they want. Yep, that is true. When you've got somebody who's like an artist/broker, and they know how to deliver like a separation ready design in Illustrator, it's like there's no greater feeling than working with someone who just gets it. You don't have to go back behind them and nanny them into delivering print ready art. It's like, oh, this is how it could be under ideal circumstances. I just had a customer who we've been working on an order for a while, and trying to get the art out of him has been crazy. And they popped back over with, well, the mock-up for the t-shirt is this full color, beautiful, like oil slick design. And they send over the file and it's just black. It's black on a transparent background. I was like, well, what is this? Well, the designer did a mock-up, but he didn't design 300 DPI raster version of the oil slick. So instead, I'm looking at a black outline. Oh, you can redesign the oil slick, right? That's not a problem. I said that is 100% a problem. If somebody designs a mock-up first and then they come back and I see there's some people here. Hey, 15 people. Good to see you guys. Everybody who's walking in the front door. If they're designing something and the mock-up looks one way, and you send me artwork that's blank and I've got to go and recreate it. First of all, that's not cool because I'm gonna have to spend an hour or 2 hours that I will charge for if I have to recreate it. But what happens if the customer who's making the decision looked at that artwork and they fell in love with some little nuance aspect of it? People's brains lock onto certain things. What if they really liked the way this thing curved or the way that texture overlaid? And when we go to recreate it, it doesn't look exactly like this low resolution mock-up. What happens then? Well, then we've got a problem. And then we're more likely to have an upset customer. So you have to design art first and then back it out in the form of the mock-up. But for whatever reason, this company had a nasty habit of designing impossible to produce mock-ups first and then putting the onus of actually turning it into a usable shirt on whoever was producing it later. And it's unacceptably bad business practice to do that. And I had to call him out. He was like, "Is this okay?" No, it was 100% not okay. I came in here and I cleaned up the mess of 2-month-old backlog orders that were sitting unfulfilled because we found ourselves in this situation before. I'm not going to blindly walk in and accept the burden of fixing the artwork and recreating it from scratch from a monochrome template. So, don't be afraid to chastise a customer who does something like that, but don't do it in a harsh way. Do it in an educated way. Do it in this is why that's not okay. And I explained it the same way I explained it to you. What happens if the person who you showed this mock-up falls in love with some aspect of it that becomes impossible to recreate when it's time to produce? That's why I make sure that my mock-ups usually look worse than the finished product. I tell them this is a CMYK design and it's on an RGB monitor, so the colors are going to be washed out. The shapes and sizes here, they're not going to blend quite as well as they will when the halftones are actually produced on the screens. And if you explain that to customers, they say, "Oh, okay." And as long as it doesn't look like dog do on a t-shirt mock-up, most of the time they can visualize it, and then when they see it, "Oh wow, this looks fantastic." So under promise, over deliver. Don't over promise and under deliver. That's the place you don't want to be in. So let me keep reading here. Undercutting the next guy just hurts the whole industry. Yes, it does. It's not okay. Been there, done that. Have the plaque. Don't want to go back. Did one. Wait, a major franchise. Loved it. It was 2015. I'm not following Levite. Yes, I agree, Ins. I understand to give price cuts and discounts, but charging rock bottom prices depreciates the value of the industry, the DJ business. Oh man, I can only imagine. I don't know how hard it is to get DJ gigs, but it seems like it wouldn't be easy to get DJ gigs if everybody around you is just undercutting prices. Same with the custom M business. What is that? Custom M business. Oh, custom drum business. Custom drum business. That's kind of cool. Start making a price sheet so I can order transfers from your machine. I definitely will. And I think Ins Print Co. does Plastisol transfers, or I think, right? Let me go back up here. I think, yeah. Ins Print Co. Yep. Vacuum plates with his Plastisol transfer machine. So, Ins, if you're not already, get in our Discord channel. So, everybody here, 14 of you, like, subscribe, but also join the Discord. I didn't mention that at all. It's an hour and 30 minutes in. Join the Discord channel. If you guys aren't already in there, we chat, we have a good time, we offer up information. Ins is welcome to go ahead and put his information for Plastisol transfer prices in there. You better believe I'm going to be putting my white laser toner heat transfer prices in there, because that sounds like a valuable thing for everybody in the industry to take a look at. I get the art problem at least once a month, and they look at you to fix it. No, you really can't. Dev Pack, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Sometimes artists just want text. Sometimes artists, they ask just text. Yeah, nice. That makes my day. I love it. We do Plastisol transfers. Where is Discord? So it's on. I don't put it in every single one of my descriptions, but most of my like set scripted videos, if you look at the description, it's a link in the top of almost all of the videos. So it'll be like, join us in Discord, and it'll have, you know, the Discord link. You just click it, you jump in, and you'll be part of it. There's like 60 or 70 of us in there now, so it's not insignificant relative to the size of the channel. But under the marketplace chat room, go ahead and go to the marketplace chat room and post your prices for your Plaxis All transfers. If you're better than FM Expressions, there is zero reason why we shouldn't all be sending business to each other. I just sent a job for quote over to Matt and Shannon over at Mikey Silkscreen and Design because I wanted a personal touch, somebody I could talk to handle a simulated process job that falls outside the color gamut of my 6-color machine, because my 6-color automatic has one of the stations tied up with a flash. So I have the ability to do a white flash, 4 additional colors on it. Now I'm working on being able to do a white flash CMYK with Virus Inks, I think is the name of it. It's an Italian company that produces high pigment content inks for CMYK process. But so far, I haven't, you know, pulled the trigger on it, you know. But yeah, they're super cool people, and their prices for contract printing were good. They just were, period. I know that Matt and Shannon are going to go the extra mile. They weren't charging me separation cost. So if I go to Atlas or IDEX or one of the local people, they're going to charge me $75 to separate my artwork. They're going to charge me for a minimum of 8 screens at $15. They're going to charge me, you know, a minimum of $2.50, $2.60 for 72 pieces. Just charge. And then they're going to want you to pick things up. There's just a laundry list of things they're not going to handle because they're all set up for efficiency. But somebody like Matt, for instance, I can send it to him, and he's like me. He's a problem solver, he's a go-getter, he's a good communicator, and he's real. So you can look him in the eye, or you can call him on the phone, you talk to him, and he solves a problem on your behalf because he's not trying to sit there and bury you in 5 feet of bureaucracy. So that's why if you're dealing with someone like Enz or Dev or any of these other people who are in Discord and they're real business owners in a similar situation that you are, we can talk and we can solve problems and we can send business each other's way. You know, one of the big things I learned over the years was we're not in competition with each other. I had my shop 150 yards in front of a shop that had an automatic press, and they were literally on the back side of a wedge street. They were on the other side of it, and then another person was another like 700 yards up the road, and I came up with the guy who was 700 yards up the road, and all 3 of us were running successful businesses back to back to back. You can do it. You're just, the people that you come into contact with will almost certainly not overlap with anybody else. That's just how it works. We're really more like a guild where we're in the same industry, we're servicing people, but we can work together, we can send business each other's way, and it takes you from being isolated and tight-chested, feeling like everybody else around you is trying to cut throat prices and grab business, and turns you into a companion, you know what I mean, or a cooperative. Take care, House of Beasts. Good to see you, man. Have a good night, brother. And that was a huge turning point. And I did that like right out of the gate. I said, you know what? I don't feel like I'm in competition with you. I feel like we can help each other. And you know what? I'm able to give gallons of ink over to someone if they're short on ink, and I can borrow stuff. I can send overages over locally, and hopefully we can do that with each other on Discord. But anyways, let me see. What time is it? Because everybody's getting tired who's been here, and I'm kind of getting tired too. It's 9:55 p.m. So it's an hour and 45 minutes in, or an hour and 38 minutes in. 9:55 p.m. I'm going to call it at 10 p.m. How's that sound, guys? We'll stick around and we'll keep the live stream going until 10 p.m. So, any last minute questions? Let's go ahead and get them in now if you guys want to just chat, throw something out there. Networking, yep, bringing everyone to the table, support each other's talent and t-shirt skills. I believe it. I mean, as long as y'all are producing good quality prints and stuff like that, you know, for all I know, you guys are using speedball inks and curing shirts under the sun and stuff like that. Who knows? But as long as y'all are producing good quality work, there's room to collaborate with everybody. And if you aren't producing good quality work, hopefully with everybody around you, you can elevate your quality. So one more sip. Is it weird when I go from just filling the air for an hour and 45 minutes to just that one silent sip. Because I know some of you guys are like listening to this on your headphones or on your desktop speakers, and it's just like echoing on all the walls, and I just get dead silent. All right, so I can't really think of anything else that I have on my heart right now. The content that we've got coming up, some of it's scripted. You know, I've got at least a dozen scripted videos that are, 4 of them are written and a dozen of them are planned, plus all of this new content that's coming out that's been thrust on me, and some of the collaborations that I'm doing with other people. But it's difficult. We had a lot of jobs come up. It was just shy of a dozen jobs that came up out of the blue that are all rushed, that all have to be done before New Year's, on top of our regular queue, and I just did not anticipate not having the additional time to put these videos out and produce them properly, which is why I'm doing all of these extra live streams. You know, this is just my phone, but it takes, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to get in front of the camera, film it, edit it, because I might have like an hour and a half of footage and I got to cut out like a bunch of dead space and things like that. And it takes a while to put out a good quality video. So I appreciate everybody who has stuck with me, who's watched me driving to the gym in the morning and all those cheeseburger live streams. I appreciate it very much. I just want to make sure that I stay in touch with all of you as time goes on, you know, because it's been really cool just building these relationships. So let me look at the chat here real quick. What else do we got here? Networking brings everyone to the table, supporting each other. Yeah. Tried talking to a print shop around the corner to help each other. They wanted nothing to do with it. Made me say, yeah. There were a couple that were like that. There was a Minuteman Press up the road from my first location, and I introduced myself. Oh yeah, and at first they were all, you know, like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And I was just like, oh yeah, you know, I got a screen printing business. I'd love to outsource and wholesale some stuff to you. Oh, and I mean, the woman just clammed up and treated me like I had leprosy as soon as she found out that I was in like the printing business. And this is before I had wholesale contacts. Like, this is before I used 4-over or DHS full color and all that stuff. I mean, it was just like, whoa, I didn't expect to be treated that way. But it happens, you know. Some people just can't wrap their mind around being in business for themselves, but it not being a cutthroat situation for whatever reason. Some people are just wired that way, and it's okay. You don't have to sit there and, you know, give people the keys to your ranch. I'm not condoning that, but you know, most of the time people aren't going to be the direct cause of your business going down. Most of the time, if you're going to fail, you failed because you made your own mistakes. So yeah, don't reach out anymore. How do you know the taxes secret love? The sunscreen BFF. How you know my taxes secret love? I don't understand what this is. A trade secret. Trade secret. I see. Sorry, Levi. Maybe I'm just not paying close attention, but I've had trouble deciphering your cryptic texts today. But anyways, guys, 9:59. I am going to call it. It has been a fantastic hour and 45-minute long live stream. You guys are fantastic people. Before you go, press those like buttons. Subscribe if you aren't already. Join the Discord, whose link is in the description of some of my other videos. And while you're there, take a look at some of the other videos. So I'll see you guys next time. I am going to be live streaming more, just until I have enough time to go through and script and film and edit and everything like that. You guys are the best. Take care. Have a good Friday night.